Picture this. You are a young nurse in Nagoya. You are 34 years old. You walk into the care home where you work every morning. You face 43 elderly patients. You're supposed to have 5 coworkers. However, you only have 2. One coworker is 68 years old. The other started last week and is already talking about quitting. Every day you lift bodies and change sheets. You administer medications and comfort dementia patients. These patients often do not remember your name. Your back hurts. You have not taken a vacation in 11 months. Last night, you dreamed about lifting Mistress Tanaka out of bed. When you woke up, your arms were sore. This is not a staffing problem. This is a mathematical inevitability playing out in real time. Welcome to Japan, where more adult diapers are sold than baby diapers. Villages are vanishing from maps. Companies are going bankrupt, not because they are losing money. Instead, they cannot find workers to keep their lights on. In 2024, Japan recorded 686,601 births. It also saw 1.6 million deaths. This data comes from the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare in August 2025. That is not a country, that is a disappearing act. The economic toll is significant. We are talking about a $5 trillion economy. It is trying to function while its workforce evaporates like water on hot pavement. By 2040, Japan will be short 11 million workers. This projection comes from the World Economic Forum in 2023. 11 million workers are needed. That number is the entire population of Belgium, gone. The question is not whether Japan's workforce is collapsing. The question is what happens when an entire nation watches its people disappear. You know what nobody tells you about demographic collapse. It does not happen like a tsunami. It happens like rust. It is slow and invisible. Then one day you touch something and it crumbles in your hand. Japan in the 1980s was unstoppable. Companies like Sony, Toyota, and Nintendo thrived. Land in Tokyo was worth more per square foot than anywhere else on Earth. The Japanese economic miracle was not hype. It was real. In 1989, Japan's economy was so massive that people debated whether it would overtake the United States. The country had figured out how to make better cars, better electronics, and better everything. It also had something else. It had many people. Young people flooded into cities. They built things, bought things, and had children. These children would grow up to build more things. But here is the thing about miracles. They require belief. In the 1990s, something broke. The asset bubble burst. Real estate values collapsed. Banks failed. However, the real damage was not financial. It was psychological. Japanese couples looked at the future. They decided it looked expensive. Childcare was expensive. Education was expensive. Housing in Tokyo was unaffordable. Women who wanted careers faced a choice, work or children. They had to pick one. The corporate culture demanded endless overtime. Leaving the office before your boss was considered social suicide. How do you raise children when you're at the office until midnight? So people stopped having them. In 1989, Japan's fertility rate dropped to 1.57 children per woman. This data came from the World Bank. By 2005, it hit 1.26. Today, it is hovering around 1.2. You need 2.1 children per woman just to keep the population stable. Japan has not hit that number since 1974. Consider the numbers. For 50 years, Japan has been having fewer children than needed to replace its dying population. Now, the consequences are becoming evident. In 2024, Japan's population fell by 908,574 people. This was the biggest drop since records began. This data comes from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in August 2025. This loss is equivalent to losing the entire population of San Francisco every single year. However, the situation worsens. The people disappearing are young. The people who remain are old. In 2025, 29.4% of Japan's population is age 65 or older. That is nearly 1 in 3 people. For every 2 working-age adults in Japan, there is now 1 elderly person who needs support. This old age dependency ratio is 51%, according to the World Bank in 2025. Now the problem is clear. There is a village called Nanmoku. It is located in the mountains of Gunma Prefecture. It is postcard beautiful with green hills, clean rivers, and traditional wooden houses with tiled roofs. In 2014, Nanmoku made national headlines. The government published a report listing villages most at risk of disappearing. Nanmoku was on this list. 68% of its residents were over 65 years old. The local school had shut down years earlier due to a lack of children. The general store closed, then the gas station closed. One by one, the lights went out. Here is what nobody tells you about village extinction. It is quiet. There is no final day. People simply drift away. Someone's grandmother dies. The family sells the house, but nobody buys it. The house sits empty. Then another house sits empty. Soon, 10 houses are empty. Eventually, streets exist where the only sound is wind rattling through broken shutters. Japan has 9 million abandoned homes. This information comes from Al Jazeera in August 2024. 9 million homes are abandoned. They call them akiya, or ghost houses. Entire neighborhoods in rural areas are turning into open-air museums of what used to be. The economic impact is not just sentimental. In 2024, labor shortages caused 342 business bankruptcies in Japan. This was a 32% increase from the previous year. This data is from Teikoku Databank in 2025. These companies did not fail because of bad products or tough competition. They died because they could not find people to staff their operations. 2/3 of Japanese companies reported serious impacts from worker shortages. This was in a survey conducted in January 2025, according to Reuters. One railroad operator stated this drives up personnel costs. It could even pose a business continuity risk. This means they might have to shut down. They cannot find anyone to run their trains. Restaurants are closing not because customers stopped coming. They are closing because there is nobody to cook the food. Ramen shops, a staple of Japanese life, saw over 70 closures in 2024 alone. This data is from Teikoku Databank. Family restaurants are slashing their hours. Retailers are scaling back. Construction sites are sitting half finished. This is happening while unemployment remains low. There are jobs available. However, there are simply not enough people to fill them. Japan's gross domestic product in 2025 is around $4.3 trillion. That is the third largest economy on Earth. However, here is the terrifying part. Labor shortages cost Japan 2.6% of its gross domestic product in 2024. This amounts to $111 billion in lost economic output. This information comes from Nikkei Asia in November 2025. This output is gone. It is not because of a recession, a trade war, or a natural disaster. It is because there are not enough human beings. Imagine trying to run Google with half your engineers missing. That is Japan. Let us talk about the human cost. Behind every statistic is someone's life coming apart. There is a woman we will call Yuki. She works in a nursing home in Osaka. She is 42 years old. She has been doing this job for 18 years. When she started, the facility had 12 staff members for 30 residents. Today, it has 7 staff for 52 residents. Yuki lifts patients who weigh more than she does. She works 12-hour shifts. She skips lunch because there is no time. Last year, she injured her back. She took 2 weeks off. Then she came back. She had no other choice. Japan needs 2.72 million nursing care workers by 2040. This information comes from Reuters in February 2025. Right now, they have about 2.1 million. The shortage is over 600,000 positions. Every year, more caregivers quit because the job is physically destroying them. The average caregiver in Japan is in their 50s. Who will replace them when they retire? This is the quiet crisis within the crisis. Japan's elderly population is growing just as the workforce that cares for them is shrinking. It is not sustainable. It is not even close. Some families are trying to manage care at home. A son in his 60s quits his job to take care of his 90-year-old mother. His savings evaporate. His own retirement becomes impossible. A daughter in Tokyo brings her father to live with her family. She works from home now. She juggles online meetings with diaper changes and medication schedules. Her marriage is strained. Her children barely see her. The government offers some subsidies. However, these do not cover the reality. Caring for an aging parent is a full-time job. Most people already have one of those. The market has responded in a particularly Japanese way, with robots. The government is investing heavily in caregiving robots. There is one called iRec. It is a 150-kilogram humanoid. This robot can roll patients onto their side and help them put on socks. It can even lift them out of bed. It looks like something from a science fiction movie. Engineers at Waseda University say these robots could help fill the caregiver gap. This was reported by Reuters in February 2025. Perhaps they are right. However, here is the question nobody wants to ask. Do we want a society where your grandmother is bathed by a machine? Japan has the highest old age dependency ratio in the world. There are 51 elderly people for every 100 working age adults. This ratio is climbing. By 2070, government projections state Japan's population will fall by 30%. This information comes from CNN in August 2025. The population will drop from 123 million people to around 87 million. That is the population of Canada disappearing. It is disappearing from a country the size of California. An economy undergoes significant changes when a third of its people vanish. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Japan knows it has a problem. However, it does not know if it wants the solution. The obvious fix is immigration. This means bringing in workers from other countries. The Philippines, Vietnam, and India have millions of people who would love the opportunity to work in Japan. Japan is slowly moving in that direction. The government has a specified skilled worker program. This program allows foreign workers in industries such as construction, nursing, and agriculture. In December 2025, Japan announced plans to accept 1.23 million foreign workers. These workers will be accepted through 2028. This information comes from the Japan Times in December 2025. 1.23 million. That sounds like a lot. However, remember this fact. Japan will be short 11 million workers by 2040. This plan is not solving the problem. It is merely buying time. And culturally, it is complicated. Japan has historically been one of the most homogeneous countries on Earth. Immigration has never been easy there. Foreign workers often face language barriers, cultural isolation, and discrimination. Some businesses exploit them by paying below market wages and providing substandard housing. The system is improving, but only slowly. There is a tension in Japanese society. People ask if Japan needs workers. They also wonder if Japan wants those workers to stay. Furthermore, they question if Japan wants them to become Japanese citizens. The other solution is to make Japanese people work longer. The official retirement age is 60. However, most companies allow employees to work until 65. This information comes from Reuters in January 2025. Now, they are pushing further. They suggest working until 70. Some even suggest working until people drop. Japan's seniors have the highest labor force participation rate among developed countries. You might walk into a convenience store in Tokyo. The person behind the counter could be 74 years old. If you take a taxi, the driver might be 68. This is not because they love working. It is because they cannot afford not to.